Episode 1, The Cartographer of Empty Rooms. There's a motel in northern Nevada that's never been reviewed. No Yelp, no Google, no TripAdvisor, but it's always fully booked. People arrive late at night, never in daylight, they pay in silence, they leave no names. Room keys are made of bone, not metaphorically, actual polished bone. But there's one room nobody stays in, Room 8. Not because it's haunted, but because it remembers too much. The man who maps empty rooms, his name was Virgil Harrow. A quiet man with a bizarre job. He made floor plans of places nobody lived in anymore. Morgues, abandoned schools, shuttered churches, places you'd rather forget. His drawings were unsettlingly detailed, not just walls and corners, but the weight of silence in each hallway. He said he was working on his final map. Something big. Then he checked into a motel that didn't exist the day before. One room left, not that one. The clerk didn't blink, didn't speak, just slid a key made of ivory across the desk, engraved with the number 9. Virgil asked, "What about room 8?" The clerk looked up for the first time and said, "We don't rent room 8 anymore. Room 8 rents you." 3. "What's behind the door?" Room 9 was wrong. Smelled like ash. TV wouldn't turn off, only play static with faces behind it. Closet had a second door inside. One not on the floor plan. He opened it. Cold wind blew out, and from somewhere below, he heard, "Help me remember who I was." Virgil mapped the room anyway. He couldn't help it. He had to draw. He had to map. His hand moved on its own, and when he was done, the paper bled. What happened to room 8? Virgil began interviewing former employees of the motel. Most refused to speak. One old maid told him, "Room 8 was never built, but we had to clean it anyway." Another said people who went in came out with different memories, or none. One man came out speaking a language that doesn't exist. Another didn't cast a shadow for 6 weeks. And one whispered, "Room 8 isn't haunted. It's alive. It wants to remember itself, so it borrows you." V, the mirror that shows another version of you. In his room, the mirror cracked. Behind the crack, another reflection. Same face, different eyes, smiling. It waved, and behind that version of himself was room 8. Door open, breathing, pulse visible in the wallpaper. Vithis, the map that shouldn't exist. On the third night, Virgil finished his final drawing. It wasn't a map of the motel. It was a cross-section of a brain. But the hallways, rooms, closets, they were labeled like a motel. A regret hall. Room 3, mother's silence. Room 7, things I said to no one. Room 8, that room was blacked out. The ink bubbled. When he touched it, he remembered a life he had never lived. And room 8 opened inside his chest. Sen, sesht. The 7. You're already dreaming of it. This story is just the map. You're already inside room 8. The lights flicker sometimes, don't they? You misplace objects, remember things wrong, smell burning when there's nothing near. You might think that's coincidence. But room 8 is patient. It travels with the story, it travels with thought, it waits to be remembered. And now you have. Sleep. Episode 2, The Guest Who Checked In Through the Mirror. Virgil begins to come apart. The next morning, Virgil Harrow wakes up wrong. His suitcase is packed for a trip he never planned. The map he drew the night before of the motel shaped like a brain is gone. In its place is a photograph of him standing in front of room 8. But here's the thing. He doesn't remember posing for it. And in the picture, he's smiling. But he doesn't smile. Not since whatever happened in Denver. Not since the clinic, the pills, the whisper he found inside his own x-ray. #2. A new door appears in room 9. Virgil's motel room is warping. The wallpaper is now breathing behind the outlets. The air smells like pages torn out of an old Bible, then soaked in rain, and then the closet opens on its own. Inside, not clothes. A staircase made of teeth. Descending. No light, no banister, just rows and rows of molars and canines, each one engraved with names in dead languages. And still, Virgil draws. He maps the angles. He records the impossibilities. Because that's what the motel wants. It wants to be understood. 3. The mirror calls again. At 3:13 a.m., the mirror flashes. His reflection, it shows room 8. Not from outside, from inside. The perspective is first person. Someone, something, is in there, watching Virgil. Breathing heavy. The floor is covered in moss and feathers. A broken TV is playing a loop of Virgil's childhood birthday party, except everyone's faces are burned out of the film. The camera zooms in, and there, in the corner of the reflection, is a twin, identical to Virgil, tied to a chair, sobbing, mouthing the words, "You left me in the map." E4 room 8 sends a letter desk, delivers it at noon, a yellowed envelope. No stamp, no sender. Inside, one page, folded 5 times. It reads, "We are ready to show you the original version of yourself." Not one you remember, the one that remembered you first. The one that always lived in room 8. Virgil vomits, because suddenly he remembers childhood blueprints his father never showed him, crawl spaces that don't exist, voices in the ductwork of his old home whispering, "You were born in a room that was never real." V, the guest next door who doesn't have a shadow. Room 10 was supposed to be empty. Virgil hears footsteps at 4:07 a.m., shuffling, dragging. He peeks through the peephole. A woman, hair like wet velvet, mouth sewn shut. No shadow. She's holding something. One of Virgil's maps. The one he drew in college. The one that was stolen during the fire. She doesn't knock. She places it on the floor, slides a matchbox underneath it, lights a single match. The paper doesn't burn. It bleeds. And the match? It sparks and whispers. Cartographers are just grave robbers for places that never existed. VI, the origin of room 8. Some say the motel was built around room 8, that it was already there waiting. Others say it was never built at all. That room 8 is a memory with walls, an emotional parasite that needs architecture to grow. But there are records, blueprints that don't line up, ledger entries in languages no one speaks, guest books with entries signed by the listener behind the vents, the woman who forgot her name mid-sentence, you soon. Virgil finds a photograph of the original construction site. There is no land, just fog, and a scaffolding made of thoughts that couldn't be completed. The 7, the mental map unfolds. Virgil can't sleep, because sleep means dreaming, and dreaming means room 8 gets closer. He realizes the motel isn't in Nevada anymore. It isn't anywhere. It's on the backside of memory. It exists in the mental blueprints of people who've been forgotten, which means it's everywhere. He looks at his own hands and sees floor numbers beneath the skin, elevator buttons in his veins, door hinges in his spine. He's not a guest anymore. He's being drawn into the architecture. 8. And then comes the whispering guest book. He finds it in the ice machine, bound in flesh, still warm. It reads itself to him as he opens it. We were all cartographers once. We all tried to map the thing that lives behind thought, the parasite that grows in forgotten rooms. We called it Room 8, but it has no real name. Only one rule. Once you remember it, it starts building itself inside you. X, you checked in too. The next time you close your eyes, look at the hallway in your dream. Count the doors. There will be one too many. And if one of them says 8, don't open it. Because now that you've heard this story, you're already on the guest list. Virgil saw to that. He left your name on the floor plan, and room 8 never forgets its cartographers. Welcome to We Don't Sleep in Room 8. Episode 3, The Architect That Dreamed in Reverse. The blueprint that came from a dream. Before room 8 was a room, it was a dream, a recurring nightmare shared by 3 people who never met. A blind child who spoke perfect German despite never hearing it, a woman who could only sleep while walking, and an old architect in Oslo who scratched the same floor plan into every surface he touched, including his skin. That floor plan was room 8. Before it existed, before the motel itself. Virgil finds their names etched into the bottom of his own map, hidden in UV ink. The motel was never built. It was remembered into being by dreamers who never wanted to wake up. The tiles that move when you're not looking. Virgil wakes up to find the bathroom floor rearranged. Not just moved, replaced. One tile shows a memory of him crying in kindergarten. Another shows his father breaking a mirror and whispering, "If you can see yourself, it's already too late." A third tile, it shows a view from inside room 8. The angle is impossible. It's looking out through the eye socket of something buried beneath the motel, something dreaming. He steps on that tile and something in the walls shivers. 3, the lobby that was never there yesterday. On the fourth night, Virgil leaves room 9, but the hallway has changed. Now there's a lobby, or something pretending to be one. There's no desk, just a choir of mannequins, heads turned away, humming an off-key version of Happy Birthday. They're seated around a coffee table made of broken compass needles. On the table, a newspaper dated tomorrow. Front page reads, "Local cartographer vanishes in motel that isn't there." The photo underneath is of Virgil, but his eyes are missing. The elevator that goes sideways. Behind the lobby, an elevator appears. It has no buttons, only a slot. Virgil inserts one of his maps. The elevator moves, but not down, not up, sideways, as if sliding between rooms that never physically touch, passing through layers of thought, of memory, of discarded selves. Each time it stops, it opens on a different version of room 8, one made entirely of fog and brass, one where time is frozen at 3:13 a.m. forever, one where everything is upside down, including the ceiling fan, still spinning. A voice behind the wall whispers, "Every room is room 8 if you know where to stand." V, the architect's final message. Virgil finds it carved into the inside of the elevator's metal frame. A single sentence, "I only designed the motel. I didn't mean to trap my afterlife in it." Attached is a diagram. It shows a skull, labeled as left eye room 7, mouth, lobby, temporal lobe room 9, pineal gland room 8. Virgil finally understands. The motel isn't in the world. The world is in the motel, and room 8 is the part that dreams the rest. Our vis. The guest who drew the same map from memory. Back in room 9, Virgil finds a fax machine ringing. There's no phone, just static, and then the machine prints a page. His map, but hand-drawn by someone else. Even the handwriting matches. A note is scrawled in the corner. "I don't know who you are, but I saw this in my head for years. When I dream of it, I wake up missing time. You're not alone. Whatever this motel is, it remembers us before we existed." Sepend, the map inside your own memory. The episode ends with a question. Not to Virgil, to you. Have you ever forgotten the layout of your childhood home? Not just a room, but the feeling of the hall, the doorknobs, the wallpaper? That's not forgetting. That's room 8 renovating. It's replacing memory, one detail at a time. Until you wake up and realize you're in a motel that doesn't exist, and there's a key on your nightstand, made of bone, labeled 8, and something behind the door is waiting to remember you.